Hello and welcome to the third anatomy tutorial. Here today we're going to talk about the ribs and the rib cage and how it connects, how it is formed. So here is a picture of the rib cage. As you can see, it's composed of the sternum. This blue is the cartilage, and then the bone, and on the back the vertebral column. Only the thoracic vertebral column, which there are 12 of those, 12 bones of the thoracic vertebral column, and we will look at each one of those in detail. We'll start off with the sternum or the breastbone. As you can see, it is composed of 3 bones: the manubrium, sternum or the body of sternum, and xiphisternum. So 3 bones: manubrium, sternum, and xiphisternum. Okay, and we will look at manubrium first. As you can see, manubrium attaches to the clavicle, to rib 1, and to rib 2, half of rib 2. That's all it attaches to. Clavicle, rib 1, rib 2, half of rib 2. Sternum attaches to half of rib 2, rib 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All of this is 7. Okay? And the xiphisternum doesn't attach to any of those except the rib 7, which is this big blue here. It attaches right where the xiphisternum joins the sternum, at the line. So by the way, these lines, so these joints, this one is the attachment of manubrium to sternum, so it is called the sternomanubrial or manubrio-sternal joint, also called sternal angle. You can feel that on yourself. You feel a small angle right in the chest, at the top of your chest. In this region there's a small angle, a small bump. Here, this joint is the xiphisternal joint, so it marks the position of rib 7. The significance of the sternal angle or the xiphisternal joint, I mean the manubriosternal joint, xiphisternal joints here, the significance, let's just call it the sternal angle, the significance of it is that it is, when you find the sternal angle, you know that right to 2 sides of it is rib 2. It is difficult to palpate your rib 1 because it is under the clavicle, so the clavicle sort of prevents you from feeling rib 1. The rib 1 is right under the clavicle, but you can feel ribs 2 right when you find your sternal angle. You go to the left or to the right and you feel rib, whatever rib you feel, you know that's rib 2, and then start counting from there, and you'll get eventually to rib 10 and 11 and 12. As you can see, ribs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are attached to the sternum or sternum or manubrium, to the breastbone. Therefore, they're called true ribs because they attach to this whole breastbone. Rib 8, which is 8 here, 9 and 10, do not attach to the breastbone. They attach to the rib 7. So rib 8 attaches to rib 7, rib 9 here attaches to rib 8, rib 10 attaches to rib 9. They're called false ribs. And finally, ribs 11 and 12, they do not attach at all to this sternum. They just hang out loose, like dead end. They don't attach to anything, they just have pointy ends. They are therefore called floating ribs because they look like they float because they don't attach to anything on this end. All 12 ribs, however, do attach to the vertebral column on their other end, all of them. Okay, so true ribs, false ribs, floating ribs. So once again, here, this is the sternoclavicular notch and sternoclavicular joint. These are sternocostal notches, and the joint is a sternocostal joint. Okay, so the notch to represent just this groove, and joint is the same name, but you just say joint instead of notch. So sternoclavicular notch, sternoclavicular joint. Okay, and so yeah, that's that. And that is represented in this simple diagram. So this is a human. I drew the head so you know which way is which direction. So facing this way, that's the front, the back. So here is rib 1, rib 2, rib 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you can see 8, 9, 10 attached to 7. And then here 11 and 12, they don't attach at all. They all do attach to the vertebral column. Sternum, vertebral column, ribs 11, 12, all of them attach to the vertebral column. Only 11 and 12 do not attach to the sternum. And 8, 9, 10 attach to 7. Now we look at this diagram one more time. We see here, again, the reason for these being different color from here, the yellow is supposed to represent bone. These blue are cartilage. Okay, so you have cartilage called costal cartilage, C-O-S-T-A-L, costal cartilage. And these are bone. So the whole thing is a rib, except the portion of the rib here that attaches to the sternum is actually costal. It's cartilage, costal cartilage. So the joint of the bone to this costal cartilage is called the costochondral joint. Costal, C-O-S-T-O, chondral, C-H-O-N-D-R-A-L. Costochondral joint. You can look that up on a dictionary or something. Okay, so costochondral joints. And again, one more time, these joints here, these are the sternocostal joints. Sternoclavicular joint up here. Sternal angle or manubriosternal joint. Xiphoesternal joint. Rib 7, rib 2 here. Now we will look at the different types of ribs. There are 12 ribs, as we said, there are 12 ribs. Ribs 1, 2, 11, and 12 are atypical, and meaning they're not like the rest, they're atypical. 1, 2, 11, 12. Ribs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3 to 10, the remaining ones are typical. So here, I wrote here, 3 to 10 typical, 1 to 11, 12, I hope you can see that, this is atypical. Okay, so what are the features of typical and atypical ribs? We will start off by looking at a typical rib, ribs 3 to 10. So here's an example of rib 6, which is a typical rib. As you can see, the head, so this is to tell you the orientation. This is the end that attaches to vertebral column on the back. This is the end that attaches to the costal cartilage on the front. So the way I drew it, you can see if you can visualize it, we're looking at it from the back because the way it curves, that is the front, we are closer to the back. So here it would be the vertebral column, so the head of the rib, there is like a little, there's a bump, that is a tubercle, the head, neck, narrow neck, tubercle. This turning is the costal angle, and then the shaft, and then that is the end that articulates with the costal cartilage. Okay. Now, an important feature of the typical rib is that the head contains two facets, and facet is a surface that articulates with another surface. So two facets, one on top superior, one on bottom inferior, separated by a crest. It has a superior inferior facet. So if I were to show you here, looking at it from the front, okay, I hope you can see this. So if this was looking at the head from the end, you see there's a crest separating into a superior and inferior facet. Okay, from the side view, this would be a little, there's the crest sticking out. Okay. Oops. Okay. There's the superior and inferior facet separated by a crest. So two facets on a typical rib.